How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the 2 Degrees Podcast, brought to you by the Play On Foundation. It's Javi, and today my guest is a very dear friend of mine, or I hope I get to call him a dear friend of mine, and this hasn't just been a route to get on this podcast, but met him in Vancouver, and we connected over the fact that not only are we two actors, but we're also not from the city, which was really interesting to discover that the people I got along with surprisingly in Vancouver were not from Vancouver. And it just turned out to be a great relationship since then. And so my guest today, everybody, Praneet Akilla. How you doing, buddy?
Thank you for having me. Yes, I think we're dear friends. I think I also get to have the same experience. I think it's such a lonely city, or it can be at least for a lot of people, and I find that it's not just you or me. It's like I think everybody that I know there like is from a different city.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
all transplants, and
Well,
um,
I
I
don't
think
know. I
that's how
think
we all
it's
kind of
it's
bond.
it's also because like I think the city itself lends to just especially within the arts. I don't really know anybody in any other industry other than the arts. So the people that I meet
Yeah.
are typically the ones that are the hardworking um, immigrants of Vancouver, if you will.
The people that have to start from scratch, so
Yeah.
claw their way up
Oh,
to the top of the city.
it's
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's what makes it different. Where it's like having to had crawl was I think the foundation I could say for myself was definitely having to crawl was definitely something that helped instill the work ethic that I've cultivated over the many years.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, it's a interesting city when it comes to that. I think LA is also the same way as well, where even though there's a whole bunch of actors there, you meet a lot of actors that aren't from there. They're just a
That's
different
nice.
chemistry when it comes to that interaction.
It's interesting. I'm gonna go there finally, like this year, COVID willing. So it'll be
Yeah,
interesting to see that. I think, you know, living there for how many ever months or so, and so I'm excited to see what happens. I'm also kind of dreading it in a weird way because I feel like it's the same experience. Like just it's just like the older I get, I find like just pressing the restart button, restart button on a new
yeah,
place. It's
yeah.
just always like it takes a lot out of me because I'm one of those. I'm like an extrovert, but at the same time, like I need to recharge my battery every like I
Hmm.
need like a month to like recharge my battery before I go out into the world again. And so I
Yeah,
feel like LA is going to
yeah.
be like another thing of just like going out and trying to meet people and just like building a community. And
Oh yeah.
so I'm trying to do as much sort of legwork. I think part of why I enjoy like talking to you and hanging out with you and stuff like that too is because and a big part of this is also you're an artist of color as well. Like I think that's also important to me in the sense that like I think just that sense of community and just like knowing people that are also pursuing this art form that are technically I'm not going to use the word marginalized because I think we came from pretty I would say like I don't know like we're lucky to be living in Canada and stuff like that, but at the same time I think coming up in this industry, there's not many of us really. So it's like, so I think
Yeah.
finding that sense of community always, I found helpful to me. So
Well, I also see myself as your very half Indian brother, so I think that's also important for the dynamic. But so you said you're back in Winnipeg. Are you? I thought you guys wrapped on what was it, SkyMed?
so no, we didn't. No, yeah, Skynet. So we did not wrap. No, we still have like another week and a half left.
Hmm.
I think as with any sort of new show, I think the first episode and the first sort of month is always like a bit of a it takes some time to sort of take off and get into flow state where all the departments are
Hmm.
working in sync and so we got a little behind in the first block and so part of these next 2 weeks is going to be shooting some pickups and then
Nice.
finishing off the season finale as well, so it's going to be a bit of both.
Ooh, fun, fun, fun. And this is Paramount
Yeah,
Plus, right? Nice.
yeah, it's a
Sweet.
Paramount
Damn,
Plus
congrats with
show.
that, man. That's
Thanks,
exciting.
man. Thank you. Yeah, it's my first series lead role, so um, first of many, I hope. But yeah, this is my first ever one. I think that I've been sort of working towards for a long time now, and so it feels good to sort of do that on this type of show. I think, yeah. So it's a Paramount Plus show. CBC is going to be, it basically has the rights to broadcast in Canada, and it's very much like a network procedural. You know, one of your like Grey's Anatomies, Chicago Med, Chicago Fire, Chicago PD, all the Chicago stuff. You know, like it's one of those shows. Except what I loved really about it was it spent a lot more time on the main characters and their journeys, because it does take place in a remote area of Canada, and it's about people that work at the emergency rescue field. You know, the pilots and the nurses that work like in remote northern Canada that have to like go rescue people that like, you know, had like an ATV accident in the middle of nowhere and they can't get to a hospital, you know, without us. And so it's about loneliness, it's about isolation, it's about why each of the sort of the main characters like went, you know, decided to leave their whole life behind and pursue this job and pursue this sort of way of life. Um, and so yeah, I think that's why I'm loving every day, sort of being on set and just getting to, you know, be a character. So yeah, it's great.
Nice. Is there any aspect of the show that you relate to in regards to your character?
Well, I think in many ways it's that the journey, right? Like the journey can be lonely. You know, like my character, he's a guy that leaves the big city, leaves his marriage behind, leaves you know, his parents wanted him to be something else that, you know, and instead he went to kind of do this sort of remote pilot job instead. I think in many ways I left that traditional sort of life behind. You know, and God, like you know, just being back home for the Christmas holidays, like every single day was just like, so you're getting married next year, right? Like when you're getting married, we need grandchildren. Literally, my grandparents were guilting me that they were going to die next year, and so they were never going to see me getting married off. Like, so it was just a reminder that, like, right, I strayed off like the beaten path, like very quickly. And then once you're on that journey, it's like it's a lonely one because you know you have so much self doubt and you have that guilt. You know, at the end of the day, I'm still brown. I still have my, you know, engineering doctor guilt. You know, that I get where I wake up in the middle of the night. I'm just like, oh my god, I made a horrible mistake. Like, what have I chosen? What have I done with my life? You know, but that comes because I was sort of raised that way, and that's sort of that trauma response that I have. And so I think the character that I play on the show, he very much has those moments of regret and has those moments of self doubt. And his journey is to discover that, like, you know, like what he chose, you know, is probably right for him. And I think that's the sort of the self discovery that he's going through that I'm also going through in my life as well. Yeah.
What was that like? Let's have a
Unpack.
little therapy session.
Therapy session, yeah.
But when did you want to give up engineering?
Well, I mean, I mean, I got my engineering degree and I worked as an engineer for a year. You know, so I guess, yeah, when did I give up engineering? I gave up engineering around 2018, like the beginning of 2018. Is when I fully, like, actually, like, had the courage to quit my job fully. Up until that point, I was sort of secretly, like, I would leave meetings, like work meetings, and I would like rehearse my audition monologues or whatever in the stairwell, like, you know, and I would like go shoot, like my friend was doing a short film or whatever, and I was playing a part in the short film, so I would sneak out with him, and we would like shoot scenes like in the middle of the day, and I had like work, and my boss had to literally.
Where did the bug come from then? Did you do it as like a minor?
It was always there, man. It was always there. Sorry?
Did you do it as a minor, or did you like take drama in high school?
No. I grew up with it. Like it was. I always, from day one, I knew I wanted to be in this business. Like I didn't know how. I didn't sort of know, like, understand.
Day one is when you were.
Day one is like literally as a kid. Like I'm watching like from like the days that I was watching Disney movies, like watching Aladdin on VHS like 17 times, watching Lion King, watching Bollywood movies because my parents would go to the theater and they would watch Bollywood movies in the theater, and I'd follow them and I'd watch with them. And just like watching the hero get the girl and like the action sequences and like all the songs and then seeing how people around me reacted, and I got this sick satisfaction within me of like, look at the power those people on screen have. Like that guy on screen made this dude cry. Like, and he's like probably some lung doctor or something like that. He doesn't cry in his entire life like saving people, but he cries because this dude got this girl. Like there was something about the sick satisfaction of that, of like, yes, the power that I could have if I did this. Something about that, and also, just from perspective of like, it just like it made me emotional. Like I would watch like Aladdin, and I would like, I couldn't stop thinking about it for like a week. And so
if you want to break out into any of those songs, I will stop you.
Well, as you can tell, I'm coughing a little bit still, so I didn't know. You should have given me like at least an hour warm up advance notice.
A little lead time. Well, this interview is going to be about an hour, so by the end of it, whenever you're ready, like just feel free.
It's I only do paid work now here.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I only do paid work. Yeah, I don't give away these tunnels for free anymore. I used to. I really do.
Don't worry. This interview is actually equity, so this goes towards. Yeah.
So you're saying there's back end involved in this?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Okay, of course.
Just because since the whole industry is kind of shut down, this is how people get their credits.
This is okay. Well, you should have told me that initially. I would have started off. I would have opened this thing. The song.
Opened with a number.
Yeah.
So what was that conversation like growing up with your parents?
Yeah. So
you need to hold up your title card next time you do that. But yeah, with that, what was that conversation growing up with your parents? When did this conversation become serious for you?
Well, I think it never became a serious thing until I would say until I graduated like school, until I got my engineering degree. Because up until that point, my parents were like, they were not like so strict to the point where they stopped me from doing things as hobbies, right? So they were like, great, like go do your school musical, go do your school play, go shoot short films with your friends, whatever keeps you happy. But like when you're going to university, you're not doing drama school. Like you're not wasting your money or your time doing something that A, we don't even know what that is. B, like what does that mean? Like what do you're just gonna do it? Like and you get paid money to do it? Like no, like that's stupid. And so like as I said, because I had the bug, I kind of put in my 10,000 hours like all the way from like elementary school till the end of university, because I would always do stage musicals and stage plays and stuff and short films constantly, like on the side as a hobby, So that's how I sort of learned. And so by the time I made the decision to sort of go and get my degree or whatever, I also honestly, it wasn't much of an argument because I didn't believe in myself at the time either. I was looking at myself. I said, I'm too whitewashed for Bollywood. I said, I don't have the skill set to get hiked in Bollywood. Like I can't even speak Hindi like that fluently. Like I can speak it, but not like 70 million brown dudes that are in Mumbai right now auditioning for one role. So Bollywood was out of the option realistically at that point. Then I was just like, what am I going to do on American television or American movies? Like I'm never going to get to that point. So, there was a lot of self-doubt then too, right? Where like I didn't believe in myself either. Like, so I didn't even put up much of a fight. I just thought to myself, all right, you're right. It's a dumb hobby. I'll just do it on the side. I'll just like do an acapella group in university or something. I'll do like the university play. And then because I have good grades in math and science, I'll just be an engineer and I'll just keep doing this as a hobby, But I will say though, actually, whatever, you go ask your question because maybe we'll get there organically, but I don't know.
No, just in regards to like with it not being now not taking it seriously. So then now it's on you. So when did you say, oh, okay, maybe I can put engineering aside because this seems to be fruitful?
So that was, I would say, a gradual process. I don't think there was like a single sort of like a day that kind of happened, that shift happened. I would say I graduated university. I had to move back home with my parents, and it was sort of like a 3-year process where I was kind of fake applying for engineering jobs because my heart wasn't in it, and working at Best Buy part time to make ends, to sort of pay the bills, while I was applying for engineering jobs. And at that point, there was an economic downturn, so people in sort of any sort of engineering company really were pretty much getting laid off at the time in Alberta. That's where I was. I was in Calgary with my parents, and so my parents just thought, he's being such a good Indian boy, he's applying for his engineering jobs, and he's just going to go down that path. And at the same time, I was that hobby hadn't left me, right? So I was secretly doing like community theater, like volunteer-based theater, stuff like that, and
When you say
eventually got to
secretively,
the
do you
point.
mean literally or figuratively?
What?
When you say that you were secretly doing theater, was that
like I wouldn't
literally or
advertise it. Like I
figuratively?
would like, like I would basically, I would finish work at 5, and then I'd be like, oh, like I'm just doing I'm like helping somebody with something or whatever. And my parents were like, whatever, he's like an adult, he can do whatever he wants. but I was embarrassed because I was doing like community theater, but I don't know why, in hindsight, I don't know why I was embarrassed by it, because it's like, it's a hobby for a lot of people that like don't want to take this profession. They don't want to do this professionally, and that's perfectly fine. And so I was sort of auditioning for community theaters and stuff like that. And it was unpaid. And while I was sort of doing Best Buy, and then I eventually got an engineering job, and while I was doing community theater, like doing all 3 and not giving 100% to any of those made me fail at my job at Best Buy, made me a terrible actor on my community theater stage, and at the same time made me a terrible employee at my engineering job as well. Like I just realized that like I was not, like I was in too many, I was like in a canoe that was not going in any direction. I was just literally just like going in circles, like I wasn't going anywhere.
So for the Americans listening to this, a canoe is a boat that goes on a lake. Just in case.
Yeah. Yeah. I was on a boat. Americans, that's what I was. Yeah, I was on a boat. And then what ended up happening was I discovered through some people in the community theater space that there were things called professional theaters in Canada, where you could like audition for things like online, and they paid you money, and people would rehearse from like 9 to 5. And so I was just like, wait, you rehearse for a show from 9 to 5, Monday to Friday? That sounds like a full-time job. And they're like, yeah, it is. And they're like, what? And so I literally like Googled like all the professional theater companies in Alberta, like every place, Edmonton, Calgary, all over the place. And then I did like with any other job, I like wrote like my cover letter. Even though I had no professional acting experience, I wrote whatever experience I did have. And I had my how to make acting resume or whatever. Like I just Googled it, and then like I did my acting resume. And then, oh shit, you need a headshot. I only had like passport photos and like stupid photos on Facebook. Like, god damn it. And so like I got my friend to like take a picture of me in front of my driveway. Like I didn't even know like, what the background, like nothing. Like I was like, just here's the phone, just take a picture of me in front of the driveway. And so that was my headshot, my first headshot, And so I just did like an email blast, and I submitted it everywhere. And at the time,
was that also the same headshot that got you Nancy Drew, or?
The thing with me is I don't, I still use the same headshot for everything. Really, I still do. They just kind of they flip through it. They're just like, this guy, he just has something, in his eye. Just, they're attracted to that, So I don't need to spend any money.
You're attracted to the background stuff.
Yeah. We admire his commitment to not doing this properly at all. There's something really courageous about it. It was so bad too. It was like a really bad. It was like the garage was like the paint was like peeling off. Like it was really bad. So then,
don't worry. Like I'll help you feel a little better with that. Where I had one headshot where I was at a friend's wedding.
Yeah.
And so I'm in a tuxedo. and we tried to get creative and artistic, so we went behind the reception hall where there were dumpsters, because it's like, oh, tuxedo? What contrasts that better than dumpsters? So that was my headshot for a minute, where
Your first, you're like
a
one of your
rented
first ones?
tuxedo. Yeah, a rented tuxedo
Oh my
with
god.
blurry garbage cans. Yep. Here we are.
Where is this? Where can I see this photo? That's my question.
I need to. I'll see if I could do a little deep dive and give a little throwback Thursday Instagram love one day.
Oh my god, you need to surface that, and you need to flex. You need to like use that and submit for like you need to go
That's
through your
gonna be the new one.
headshot.
That's gonna be the
Yeah.
new thing. All right, done.
I mean, it's interesting, like the things that we do, you know, because there's something really, kind of, I don't know, like about like the naivete of it all, and like just the courage that comes with that, you know, where you're not overthinking anything, and I wish I still could have some of that, you know, but yeah, like I did the email blast, and then at the time the transition was happening, this was like around 2017, so at the time, like they were looking for people of color on stage. Like, you know, they were looking for. I think that transition sort of happened earlier in Canadian theater, I would say. And so I got a lot of audition calls, like general auditions, not like role specific auditions, and I had no idea like what to do in an audition at all. Like I just kind of like sort of was winging it, and I would go to these auditions, and they said somewhere that I had to have like 2 monologues in my back pocket at all times. So I just like memorized a Shakespeare one, like a classical Shakespeare one, and I memorized like a regular contemporary one that I just found on Reddit, you know, that I just like asked people for advice on Reddit, and then I got cast. Like eventually.
What did you ask? I'm curious what you asked now, because like I used to see a whole bunch of different postings on like Facebook where people are asking for monologues, and then I'd read the comments where sometimes they'd be super specific. It's like, oh, I'm a straight white male and I need this, and it's like, and then you see the suggestions that come underneath it, and then this was back when I was very vocal with it, so then I'd type on it, oh, why can't you do a gay monologue, or I think you should learn a woman's monologue. But then it's just interesting seeing all the different things that people are asking for. But what did you ask for when you're like, I need help, Reddit?
I need help, Reddit. What did I say? It is so interesting though. That's true, because literally if you say like what you look like and stuff, like the bias is so different. Like people literally just recommend a bunch of things that you would normally be recommended. I didn't specify what I look like or what anything like that. I just said like, hey, I'm a beginner-ish actor that is having his first audition tomorrow or whatever. I need like 2 contrasting monologues. One needs to be like classical or whatever. And I got like a bunch of responses. I got like all the cliched Shakespeare ones, like the overdone ones. I got some contemporary like David Mamet ones. And of course, and at the time I didn't know any better. Like I love theater, but like I didn't delve into it so deeply where like I knew all the different playwrights. Am I frozen?
Oh, you're back.
Okay, I'm back. Okay.
So you were saying, so you didn't know all the different playwrights?
I didn't know all the different playwrights. I didn't know like country, like the styles of each piece or anything like that. I was just not educated enough at that point, and so I just sort of picked like what spoke to me instinctually, and so I did like the monologue from King Lear, Edmund's "Thou Nature Art My Goddess" monologue, and because I was auditioning for a company called the Shakespeare Company, and they do like 2-hour Shakespeare plays, and it's like blockbuster Shakespeare, so like they trim all the fat, and it's like 2 hours, you're in and out, you know, that kind of theater company, and so I got cast. The artistic director of the theater company was just like, "Where did you come from?" And I was just like, "Oh, I've just I've been here, kind of doing things, and I'm an engineer, and like I'm transitioning into this." He's like, "Well, will you be available? Because like we rehearse." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I should be fine. Like I finished work at 5." And he's like, "No, dude, like we're like this is paid. Like you have to be here like at 10 a.m. every day." I was like, "Okay, well, how much am I getting paid?" And they were like, "Well, it's $600 a week." And even at that point, to me, $600 a week to act is insane. Like because I genuinely thought you didn't get paid. And so I was like, "This is incredible. I can quit my job. Everything's great." Like it's like for $600 a week is what I thought. Great, this is my excuse. And of course, I had the conversation with my parents, and I'm just like, so this happened. And now I can't do Best Buy. I can't do my engineering job. I can't do anything else. I have to only do this, and I can't take like time off work. And of course, that led to a pretty significant argument. Like it was like 2 or 3 weeks of arguing. Like my mom just breaking down and just being like, I failed as a mother, and like I don't know what I've done with I should have raised you to be better, and like it's always a high stakes drama with Indian mothers. It's like literally there's no like in between. It's always just like I failed in all my aspects.
That's so
It became a full Indian soap opera in my house for like a good week. But my dad was a little more understanding because he was just like, you know what, like you did the thing, right? There's a value in finishing a degree. There's a value in working, even if it doesn't work out, even if you hate it. There's a value in at least trying it and seeing what worked and what didn't. And then, so he was more understanding and being like, all right, well, if you're gonna do this, then do it like wholeheartedly. Don't like fuck around like you did at Best Buy and like your job and your thing and like just like do it. And I was just like, in the back of my head, I was like, of course, like I will because I love this. And then the profound moment happened, which was once I got into rehearsal, a lot of the people in the cast were people that I had done musical theater with in high school, who, when they graduated high school, they pursued this art form professionally. So they all went to drama school and stuff like that. They graduated, they'd come back to the city to work as theater artists. And,
I thought you were going to say all the people in my cast, I sold them computers the previous week at Best Buy.
I did give them my engineering business card, and I said, hey, if you ever need any help with steam-assisted gravity drainage, let me know, because I'm your guy.
You're the guy.
I'm your guy. Well, no, it's so true, because literally, like, people were like, because I was playing like murder. I was like playing murderer number one. Like it wasn't even like a big role. Like I was playing like one of those like ensemble characters. But and I would keep joking around. I'd be like, well, I have tons of time off stage, so if you guys want to do your taxes or whatever, let me know. Like, cool. I'll just like do them for you. like, But what was interesting is like they all, to a man, came up to me and said, "Oh, what drama school did you go to?" And I was just like, I didn't. I did engineering. Oh, what drama school did you go to? I didn't. I did engineering. Oh, I swear you went to the National Theater School. I was like, no, I didn't. They're like, but you were like the musical theater kid in high school. They're like, oh no, but I didn't. And it was like wave upon wave, like crashing upon me because I realized up until that point, like, holy shit, dude, like you lost your own identity. Like people around you knew who you were more than you knew yourself.
Wow.
They all thought I was literally being an actor, and that I just like came and joined them for like a show in Calgary, and I was just like, no, I'm living a whole other life. And they were like, okay, well that's interesting. Well, good to have you back. And I think that like that like fully like I mean that was the moment, like where the light bulb went off, and I was just like, well, you lost your way for a good 3.5 years. You're on full autopilot mode, and it scared me because I was just like, dude, if I for some reason didn't find the opportunity to Google about theaters, like I would be on a completely different path still. And so I think the people coming up to me and talking to me and making me feel like, okay, you know what, this is Praneet, and we actually know who you are, and I think it's time you also discovered like it's time you went back.
You were from high school.
From high school. Because I was that kid. I was a musical theater geek. Like I was like literally in every single musical. I was like the theater kid. I was like the quintessential theater kid.
Yeah.
Like and somewhere along the way I lost my self confidence to like pursue it professionally.
The thing that I also need to like highlight here is then by that standard, like you're just a walking talent then, because you never had any real professional conservatory training.
Yeah, I didn't.
Like, wow.
I never had any conservatory training.
That needs a moment because it's like you did Shakespeare, you nailed Shakespeare without any training. That's if you're not meant to be an actor, what that's insane.
You know what? Here's the thing too: is that conservatory training is still something I'm still to this day I'm still seeking. Like I still crave it a little bit at times because I don't know. Sometimes I still have that imposter syndrome where I feel like I want it. I feel like I want to do it, but I will say that I still always do classes. Like I'm always training on the side because as soon as I started doing this professionally, I was like, I recognized that there is value in training. And so I said to myself, like, sure, I don't necessarily have the time to get like a 4-year degree in this, nor the money to like pay for tuition and stuff. But what I will do and what I vowed to myself is I'm going to be training this as a muscle, So whether it's taking classes on the side, whether it's learning from directors, like I'm always going to be like a lifelong student of this because I have to catch up. And so the good thing about starting off, like my first 4 professional gigs were all Shakespeare. So my first full theater professionally paid gigs were all Shakespeare, which meant that I was learning from the actors in that space that had done Shakespeare for years. I was learning from directors that used to be like elite, like company members at Stratford, which is like the Shakespeare sort of mecca of Canadian theater. And they'd move back to Calgary to start their own companies. So these were the people that I was under the tutelage of. I can't believe I said that tutelage. Anyway, that I was learning.
That's a great word.
So Shakespeare. I was so tutelage. Yeah. So I mean, simply put, I was learning on the job, really. Like I got better. And like my first Shakespeare play, I'm sure sucked. Like I'm sure I was not great. And as I kept going, and I kept getting more meatier roles, like the more easier it became. And so yeah, I would say I put in 10,000 hours like as a kid, leading up to that point, and then everything else kind of came from natural instinct and failing and learning on the job.
Well, they do say like the best experience and the best learning will come from sets. So
Yeah,
you're right. You're right in the thick of it.
But you also didn't really have conservatory training. Like you went from
Not conservatory
something else
training.
entirely.
I've been rejected from conservatories. Let's let's go there. So it's not like I didn't try. But
Right.
no, I was kind of in the same boat. But I dedicated time into studying first.
Right.
Like I didn't take the musical theater route. I didn't I didn't do drama in high school. I didn't looking for stuff off of like Mandy and Craigslist and all that until I started taking classes. So it's like
Right.
I went the learning route first. I started going to studios first, and then I started from ground up. And I still took that picture by a dumpster because I thought that's what you have to do.
The Toronto acting studios have really different advice, I would say, than the Vancouver ones.
I'm still blown away at the fact that like I literally needed to get sat down and taught how to break down a Shakespeare verse.
Mm-hmm.
And you telling me the story of you just learned the Shakespeare monologue and they loved you. I'm like, what? How does that?
Well, like the thing is, it's trial by fire. Like the things that you can do on adrenaline, like the things that you can do when you don't have a choice to overthink it. By no means, I don't think by any means it was fully like refined, But I think what they did see, if anything, was like some sort of energy that I might have given off, or I innately what I will say with Shakespeare that came easily to me, easier to me, was just innately understanding. Like it took like 2 or 3 tries. I'm not gonna say on the first try I got it, but like 2 or 3 tries later, like I could get a general sense of like what the hell the character wants, right? And sure, I might not have known like every single word, the specificity of each meaning, and like the iambic pentameter of it all. But what helps in Shakespeare is if the actor knows what the character wants. Like what the hell? Like what is the point of his monologue? Like why is he even standing there, and what's compelling him? I guess that's the thing. It's about honing in on what's compelling him to say all this. Because there's a version where he keeps it all inside, which is what most of us do. We don't stand and then monologue. Like our monologues are all internal. So what is causing the character to stay there and say this out loud? And I think that's what sort of helped me, is just like I was able to sort of tap into like, why is he saying this? Like, why is Edmund saying this? Right, he's saying this because he's pissed off that he's always been second to Edgar. He's always been second. And now he's illustrating, he's making a point that, listen, you're a bastard child. Or no, he's saying like, I'm a bastard child. Yes, sure. I'm always looked at as a second class citizen, but I was born out of passion, motherfucker. You were born out of like wedlock. You were just born out of like two people just like being like average in bed. I was born out of two people. I was, yeah, exactly, right. And so like just those little clues in the text where I was just like, oh, okay, that's what it is, right. And so, but that came with more experience. That became easier, and then once you're in the arena with like these Shakespeare titans, they were very generous with their time because they saw this kid who was like failing and doing it, and so like they would come and help, and they would say, oh, maybe this one drone dropped on this line, or remember to circle these words, remember these are the stressed and unstressed syllables. It's like I'm just lucky in that sense because Shauna McKenna is the Meryl Streep of Canadian theater, and she's like Shakespeare royalty, right? She is the you look at Shauna McKenna's career, she is like literally she's done all the great Shakespeare works. Like she's won tons and tons of awards doing them. She is Canadian theater royalty, and when she eventually passes away, she will go down as one of the greats of Canadian theater. She was my director on my second Shakespeare show, and not only that, like a couple of years later, I was playing her love interest on stage, like for a different play, and so I got to work with this legend like 3 times, before I ever did film and TV really, and so learning like my having my teacher be like that person made things easier because there was no bullshitting with her, she was so good at what she did. She was just like, wrong, wrong, start again. No, start again. No, don't start again. Okay, you're gonna do the monologue. I'm gonna keep doing this when you have to change your thought. I'm just gonna keep doing that. Okay, I'll do this, and then you have to change your thought. So I would do my thing, and then she'd do this, and I have to change my thought, and then she'd do this, and for her, I was just being too precious with like I was taking way too long, and Shakespeare is best understood at a certain pace. At least that's what she told me, and so she would practice pace with me, and so those little tricks and stuff like I was just lucky. Like I lucked out having the right people.
Do you have any other
Around me when I
gems
first
that have
started.
stayed with you?
Um, well, it's interesting, right? Like it's so different than thinking on the thought is something that like I think let's go on the topic of pace. For theater, what I used to think is like you say something to me, and in life, I take like a few seconds to process it, and then I figure out how I feel about it, and I spit it back out. When you're doing something like that in theater, because it's such a vast space, and you're trying to hit the 700th person in the back row, that processing time that you think is quick is an eternity for an audience, and they just get bored out of their mind. And now imagine a play where every person is taking their sweet ass time to respond back, dialogue wise. And she taught me the craft of writing, right? She taught me that when Aaron Sorkin writes a play, like he's writing it to be this. That's the pace. That's the tone. And then I would ask like, but like we don't do that in life. Like we don't have rehearsed like responses back to our the people that we talk to in life. Like the way I'm also trying to think of what to say next, like is what I would do. But she said like, listen, like, but for the audience, like they're not seeing it that way. They are literally seeing you taking your sweet ass time in between dialogue. And so she said, as I'm saying something, you're reacting to the second last word. So by the time I finish, you come in, and something like that helps on a network procedural like Skynet. Maybe not necessarily like a Breaking Bad type show. Maybe not necessarily like the show Made that you were on. Not like that type of show where it's a bit more lived in reality. So you have the time to like take that time to process and stuff like that, and it gives you space to breathe a bit more. But that advice from theater really helps on a show like this because what I had struggled with on this show was pace again. Because I would keep thinking that I'm in Breaking Bad. So I would really like be in my feelings. I would like really like whatever choices that I would have made, like I would just make it about myself and the character and stuff, and like what would the character do and stuff. But that theater advice from Shauna McKenna made me realize like, oh wait, each thing is tonal, like it's each piece is different tonally, And so the showrunner's note after every take was just like, pace, please, pace. Like the audience is already bored, but we're dead. Like we need edit. Like we have to get this down to 41 minutes. Like you need to respond back. Like, you know, and here I am being like, but like he wouldn't respond back so quickly. Like he doesn't have any confidence in this moment. Like he doesn't know how to talk to girls. So like how would he respond back so quickly? It doesn't make any sense. You know, and I like argue back, and it would be like, nope, like it reads, believe me. So then it was like, okay, I almost have to not pre-plan, but like I almost have to kind of know what I'm sort of doing a little bit. Not
you got to think on the thought.
You got to think on the thought. And I don't know about you, but I still struggle with that note because it's like that leads to anticipation for me, and I don't like anticipating. You know?
Yeah.
In a sense.
I confronted that when I was doing Take Two, and that was my first procedural, and that was the thing where it's like, it's not so much of you're anticipating, but then it's trusting that this character has like already had all of this stuff going on in his head, and it's just knowing that you're going into this conversation expecting a conversation. So then you kind of, again, like I've never heard it so simplified, but it makes so much sense. You have to kind of think on the thought and just be there, be present, and you already have two people who kind of want to already drive the scene. Even though you may seem like you're lacking confidence, you already have a direction in the scene that you're willing to go in, as opposed to trying to discover what direction to go in into that scene.
No, totally.
It's a very, it's daunting, especially when you have a lot of jargon that you have to get through.
Lots of jargon, and these are the things that you only learn on set, kind of. You learn like by doing, you know, like it's not, it's something that sure can be taught in a class, but at the same time, it's one of those things where it's like, there's no greater teacher than the showrunner being like, you please be better, thanks. Like, you know, because it's like the stakes are high, because it's like, dude, we have millions of dollars in the show. Like we need to let's go. Like, what are you doing? You know, so there's no time to really like question it on the day, on the moment. Like it's just about like trusting it. And I would always get the note, remove the air or like tighten it up, please. You know, and I'm like, my dumb brain would always think tightening up means talking faster. I was like, oh, but I swear I was like talking pretty fast. Like, what do you mean tighten it up? I'll talk faster. Oh, okay. And then I would talk really fast. And it'd be like, no. We went like just tighten up like the air between, you know, between dialogue.
I like to think I've broken down an aspect where it's like when your character has a rhythm and then the show has a tempo. So then it's finding that sweet spot of knowing how to match the tempo of the show by still being true to your character's rhythm. And it's like it's
How long did that take you on Take Two?
Luckily, I'd like to say that I faked it the first few episodes, and then it starts to make sense. Where it's like I'm thankful that I got to see like the dailies every now and then, and I'm like, looks like I'm rushing. Why am I talking so fast? Or then I'll on the other end of it where it's like, I didn't like that beat. Why did I take that beat? What am I trying to prove here? Who's this character? This is not what they want. So then, that's my reality of it. Is like I faked it at first, but then luckily the editors were amazing and still made it all work. But yeah, it's about just being on set and learning from it and trial by fire, as you said, where I think that was also a very crucial thing, was being able to be self-critical in that instant as well, as opposed to either just being completely self-deprecating, or I'm like, oh, I'm not good enough for this, or thinking that I'm the hottest shit there just because I have this opportunity. So being able to find that balance and know that there's still room to grow, and there is something to learn from a moment, even if I think there's nothing to learn from it. Taking my time and just.
Well, it's also this I think I was so eager to know my character. Like I did a lot of prep before like episode 1, right? And I was like, I put so much pressure on myself to get the character 100% right in the pilot, and realizing that like actually no, the experience normally from most actors, most series regulars on shows is like they probably kind of hit the sweet spot of like knowing who their character is like episode like 5. Like there's certain things that kind of come easier to you as you go on as the season progresses. Like nobody has their shit figured out to begin with, and I think I was putting so much pressure on myself to like nail every sort of like, or at least be comfortable with the choices that I made for the character, and then realizing that, oh, okay, maybe the showrunner has a sort of different, they view it differently, but that's okay because the point is to communicate and figure that out as you go on. Not.
Hold on 1 second.
Yeah.
My box is beeping.
Your box is beeping. Oh shit.
That's so funny. What were you saying about San Diego? You're gonna be in San Diego?
I was going to be in San Diego before the whole Omicron thing, doing a workshop of a musical.
Omicron. That's how you say it?
Have I been saying it wrong? Omicron? I
don't know. Omicron?
Omicron? I don't know. For me, micron is microscope. Micron. So, but yeah, I was supposed to be there at the La Yola Playhouse. Is what the theater company's called there.
La Yola?
La Yola, yeah. LAJOLLA.
Oh, La.
Have I been saying it wrong? La Jolla.
Yeah, I'm the lead in this play at the La Jolla. The La Jolla? It's all good.
Thank God I didn't say La Jolla. I said La Jolla.
You said Loyola.
Loyola.
So you're almost there. You're almost there. No, it's good. Don't worry. California has a lot of funny names here. You'll get used to it.
Yeah, I was at the La Jolla Playhouse now.
But wait, what happened? So you were supposed to be a part of this play?
I was supposed to be part of the workshop. Couldn't get a visa in time. And then with the restrictions, the travel restrictions and all that stuff, it was.
Why do you need a visa for a workshop? Can't you just come?
Very good question. Because it's a paid workshop, and they were only willing to go with American citizens. Gotcha. But the director is a Canadian director who he knows me, and so he was trying to fight for me to participate, but they're like, yeah,
that's fine.
We can't. Yeah, the whole visa thing's the bane of my existence right now. But.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. Right now, my plan is just to be able to say that I'm local enough, even though I don't have my visa, if an opportunity comes along, and just pray for the best. Other than that, be back in Canada when it warms up, and then try it all again next year.
Are you spending time like where are you going to be most of like this season now, like from January till like April or whatever? You're just going to be
January probably till like April. Yeah, in California. Don't know where. Probably check out some RV parks.
Right.
And just post up there for the meantime. But like everything's shutting down apparently, and it's going to be shutting down for a few weeks at least.
What's shutting down?
Of productions, because of
productions.
That's the word on the grapevine, because of how many people are testing positive.
So. Yeah, I was supposed to shoot something in March for Motherland, the show that I was on last season, just like the last few episodes, and that was supposed to shoot at the beginning of March. It's now pushed to April. So yeah, you're right. Everything's been done. Damn.
And then even in Toronto, like my manager was like, yeah, production had like 17 positive cases on it. So, crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I also wanted to bring up, Mom vs. Machine.
Yeah. I'm.
That got picked up, for the festival run and everything.
Yeah, there's still more announcements to come with that.
Tell us.
Tell you everything about it. So, part of I love storytelling and stuff, and of course, the next goal in my career is to become a multi-hyphenate like producer as well, and I'm slowly doing that on a smaller scale level, of course, right now. But eventually, I want to get to the point where I'm famous enough where I can just walk into a room and they can say, "Here's a bunch of money, go make your shit." But that is not in my control necessarily. But in the meantime, I'll keep just making stuff.
So then is the
Mom,
goal then to be a writer or just focusing on producing?
not necessarily writer. Like I would say, like a Jason Bateman, like Ozark, right? Like so he's the executive producer of that show. He's the lead actor. He doesn't write the scripts, but he certainly directs a few episodes. He directs as well. So I think, and what's cool is on Skynet, I've been shadowing like all the directors and on all the blocks as well, and it's such a competitive business. It's so competitive to get a directing gig as just a person that's trying to be a director. But as an actor, and
Yeah.
especially as like a regular, like even on take two, like I'm sure if it continued, at a certain point, like you could have gotten a shot to direct as well, is what I'm finding. Like actors, we jump right in front of the queue, you know, if we earn that trust. And so part of my plan for this year is to direct more shorts and stuff like that so that I have a directing reel of some kind. So that if we get like season 2 or season 3 of the show, I've expressed enough interest to them and they've seen me on set shadowing and stuff to the point where I can get it written on my contract where I can get to direct like an episode, maybe, stuff like that. I'm definitely interested in that. I
So
think
you directed Mom versus Machine as well, or?
co-directed, co-wrote, and then co-produced and then starred in it as well. I was one of the actors in it. My creative collaborator, Tesh Kunikonda / roommate as well in Vancouver. He's a brilliant writer, director, and producer as well. And so the Crazy Eights competition is like a giant festival in Vancouver. And pre-pandemic, the screening of the festival would get thousands of like producers from all over BC and stuff like that. And so it's very much a festival. It's a ground for a lot of up and coming directors. So like the directors that direct us on episodic television now in BC, a lot of them actually got their start doing short films at Crazy Eights. Like they're like Crazy Eights alumni. And so it is a very like, it's a pretty important festival because it's a breeding ground for a lot. And so out of 200 submissions, you pitch like a 10-minute short film idea. And they whittle down those 200 submissions into 6. And so those 6 people get to essentially get a full union crew, full union film equipment, all for free. And then everybody volunteers their services, including the actors, because the UBCP ACTRA has an agreement with Crazy Eights being like actors can also work for free on these short films. And so you essentially get what you're effectively like a $90,000 like short film budget to like go make it for free, essentially, if you make it to the top 6. And so that's what we got. So we pitched an idea. It's based on a semi-true story. I got my mom a Rotimatic, which is like an automatic roti making machine. She makes amazing rotis, but I was like, make her life a little easier. It's like it's in and out, and it's quick, and it's like it makes a bunch of rotis. Like it makes like really good quality rotis, and it's so cool too. It's got not AI, but it's got like an algorithm in there where it like literally like it self-corrects itself and makes better rotis each time, and it sends data to
What?
Houston. It sends data to Houston, Texas, which is headquarters of the company, in real time. And they like analyze the thickness, the oil, the water ratio of the roti, and they like send back data, and they can actually fix things remotely. The software
Stop
remotely
it.
to make better quality rotis. Oh, dude, it's $1,000 on Amazon. You can go get it right now if you want. It's there. It's a thing.
What?
And so I still use it.
I had
Like,
no
I don't
idea it was that
like-
high tech.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's what makes me laugh about it. I think that's what inspired the idea because I was just like, this is hilarious because it's like this thing exists and my mom, instead of reacting like in a positive way to it, being like, oh, like thank you for the gift, she was just like, what do you think you're doing, motherfucker? Like you're gonna replace me, like. And I think that was like boom, like light bulb, where I was just like, to an Indian mother, she expresses love. Any mom really, not just Indian, but like they express love through food. Like when their son comes home, they cook like the home cooked meal and my mom's on top of that, she's a foodie and she's a really passionate, like she loves cooking on top of all of that stuff. So it's like, for me, like we don't really exchange I love yous in my house, but like the way my mom expresses love to me is like by like making my favorite dishes or like making something new and being like, hey, do you want to try this? Let's experiment, or like try this new sort of vegan dish that I made or whatever. And so that's how she expresses love. And so it got me thinking, like, what if I replaced my mother with a machine? And like, how would she feel about it? And like imagining a scene where she like came downstairs and it was me, my dad, my sister, and the machine, just like having a great time, just like eating food, like on a dinner table. Like, what would she think? then it got me thinking about like a machine uprising and like a bunch of moms that have been through the same thing, and then became like the mom versus machine idea, and
That's so cool.
and so yeah, it's about an Indian mother who has to battle a sentient Indian food making robot essentially for the affection of her son, and I play the spoiled son who
That's
lives
brilliant.
in his basement, who lives in his mom's basement and just treats her like shit, and he gives her this Indian food making machine as a gift so that she can stay the fuck away from him. So he can be like, here's the machine. This machine will cook me food. You don't have to like make sure I'm fed anymore. You can just do your own thing. I'll do my own thing. And so I just got to have fun and play like a really bratty. He's a grown ass man, but I played him like a 13-year-old teenager.
That's fun.
And so, but our mom, she's a brilliant actress. Her name is Nimet Kanji. She's an incredible South Asian actress based in Vancouver, and she killed it. Like she's the one that carries the movie. She's the lead, and so yeah, she did such a good job. And unfortunately, because of the pandemic, we weren't able to see the Crazy Eights in person because it was all done online. So it premiered at the Whistler Film Festival in December, and that was the first time I got to see it with an audience, like in a packed like sort of theater, and so that was really, really cool. Getting to see them laugh at the jokes that we wanted them to laugh at, and it's not for everyone. It's a very it's a very specific sort of vision. It's very much like a Pixar short come to life, is how we imagined it. I always love like those shorts before those Pixar films, and I was just like, I just want to make like a Pixar animated short, but like a real life one, and I'll definitely send it to you because I realized you haven't seen it, and I haven't sent it to you, so I will send that to you.
So then, does that mean like because of the pandemic, it like Crazy Eights didn't get a hold of it, or did that go online?
Crazy Eights basically did like an online event. So it screened all the 6 films, but like there was no audience reaction, so it just played, and so I was just watching it from my room. Like it kind of sucked that way, and
how do you feel though it did, and if it left an impact? Because you said that a lot of producers and directors would go to this event and see it. So do you think it was still received in the way that you would have wanted it?
I think so. I think that's one thing, the drawback for the 2021 cohort of Crazy Eights, I would say that one thing that we all lost out on, the top 6 teams, was that experience of like, and I remember I've been to the one in 2019, I've been to the one in 2018, and like you're literally like the top 6 people are treated like rock stars because the theater is like packed. It's at the Orpheum in Vancouver, and it's like thousands of people in the theater, and it's on a giant screen, and like producers, TV producers, film producers, like everybody comes and wants to mingle with like the people, the actors that were in the short films, the producers, the directors that were in the short films, the DPs that shot them, and so you do get a lot of opportunities out of it. Where it's like, hey, I want to work with you sometime. Here's my card or whatever. Like, and so we did miss out on that a little bit. Part of why I was able to get luckily I got some time off from shooting to go to Whistler to represent the short film, and so I got to do a lot of that there because there was people in the audience that watched it there and set up meetings and stuff. But I don't know. I'm also my own worst critic, and so it's one of those things where Crazy Eights means you have 8 days to make it from start to finish. So you have a month of pre-production, but then you have 8 days. You have 3 days of photography, and then you got like 5 days of post, and that's it. And of course,
oh wow, okay,
you're making a short film, a $50,000 short film in 3 days, and we bit off more than we could chew a little bit. Like the scope of the short was so big on paper that you inevitably run into technical difficulties, and then you fall behind on your days. And then eventually you have to start cutting things, and what was supposed to be this incredible Matrix style action sequence in the 3rd act still was like a fight scene, but it ended up being more because we just didn't have time to shoot it like we wanted to. We had to like pivot and make it more horror-esque as opposed to like action packed, so things like that. When I watched the thing, and then sometimes I watch my performance and I'm just like, you're being way too big right now. Like, calm down. So like my experience with the movie, and of course like watching it and directing it and being with it for so long, you lose sight of what makes it special. Because like you're always constantly watching it, and so I can't watch it as an outsider anymore. Like I'm too like in it now, and so it's gonna take somebody like you or like somebody who hasn't seen it, and that always happens. Like people that see it always like message me back and are always like impacted by it somehow because they're just like, this is so cool, you know, and I feel touched by it. Because all I see are the flaws in it, you know. But that's natural because you know I've been editing it since day one. So, but the key for me is I want to see somebody like my mom being the badass lead of like a science fiction movie. You know, like the impetus for all this stuff is to like put our characters in genres that we don't often see them in. You know, like sure, there's a lot of people on color on Star Trek Discovery, like in Shoots in Toronto and stuff. Like there are things that exist, but like. You know, like I still want like
because that's just like it's fake diversity in my eyes. Where when you put somebody in a full prosthetic costume, it's like it doesn't count for me.
Yeah, it doesn't count. You're totally right. Yeah. But like an original sci-fi story, you know, like or you know, we talk about a movie like Alien or whatever. But imagine Sigourney Weaver wasn't Sigourney Weaver; it was like a brown lead. You know, it'd be so cool. Like just the you know the mindset shift because we often see our stories in very sort of like I don't know traumatic arenas. Like it's about if you're like a lead of if you're like a brown lead of something, it's like about a guy who wears a turban and now he has to like cut his hair or whatever, like the trauma of that, or like you know some Muslim kid being bullied at school. It's his journey of like post 9/11. It's like I just want us to like hold guns and shoot aliens sometimes, you know?
Well, it's like it's telling a story that you've heard and. Because it's funny, there's a show, a Korean drama on Netflix called Arthville Chronicles, and it's essentially a story of like cavemen, but because it's a K-drama, they're Korean and they're speaking like Korean, and it blew my mind to think that of course there would be cavemen in Korea because they're not, you know what I mean? And it's like
they're still human.
It was like one of those moments, Right, so it was really interesting. It's like why can't they also have this story? But it's like they also have an origin story, and it's told in their tongue. Where all I know of cavemen stories are typically in a terrible English accent, and it's like, but it's English nonetheless. So I totally get that.
No, it was, and
with what you were saying then, because you feel that you're so invested, moving forward, would you again put on that many hats when you're putting together a project, or would you sacrifice at least one of those hats, like the director hat, or maybe give up the actor hat and give it to somebody else?
Yeah, I think I right now I'm not interested in giving up the actor hat. I think if anything, I'm gonna make. I definitely still want to act in it because why not? Because it gives me the excuse to, you know, write roles for myself. You know, why not?
It's why you came into this industry. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, of course, there's ideas that I think about where I'm just like, I'm not interested in acting in it. Like I would like to direct it, of course. But that was too many hats. That was a lot of hats because you can't be the actor in front of the camera and at the same time tell the director that he's taking too long. like it doesn't work. Like there's arguments that happen because of that. So because at the same time I was the producer, so I was just like, dude, hurry up. And it's just like, can you focus on your performance, please? You know. So it was like that screwed with me. So maybe not producer or actor. I think there's something in directing and acting you could do that's more symbiotic. But being a producer and being an actor at the same time is a bit weird sometimes because it's just like, you know, as a producer, you're dealing with like the budgets and you're dealing with like getting things done on time. You're dealing with like certain things and supporting the director's vision, and at the same time being the guy in front of the camera where the director's telling you what to do is a weird kind of thing. I'm torn about that question, man. My answer to your question is I don't know. I think I love everything too much. Like I love all of it, and part of my journey going forward will be to recognize like what my strengths are and then doubling down on those. I think because I wouldn't say I'm confident as like a director necessarily. Like I think my skill set, even from my engineering background, I have the project management skill set. So naturally, I have producing, like I have a producing skill set already on a baseline level, which helps me planning, project managing, essentially, like a movie or a TV show or a short story. And so I think right now producing and acting is my way to go. Even like I'm developing like a couple of TV shows right now with Tesh, and realizing that like even my agency, and I'm maybe even yours, I'm not sure, but like I'm like my agency has like a literary arm, so they represent like a bunch of writer directors. And what they've been telling me too is, and it's an interesting thing where it's just like, hey, like you have us too, which means that like, yeah, you're a series regular now on this show, but going forward now, think of like 5 ideas where you're the lead, and produce the pitch deck for it, produce the pilot script for it, like become the creative producer for your own ideas where you're the lead, you're the main dude. Think of 5 of those, bring them to us, and then we'll go through all 5 of them and be like, this sucks, this actually has legs, this actually has legs, this sucks. And then because of our resources, because they're an agency and they have connections to like all the major studios and everything like that, like we can package you, and we can package that, and we can go do that, and then you could be that Jason Bateman type where like you get to, if one of them takes off, then you get to be producer, lead actor, so that's a path. Like that's my next step, and it's scary as hell because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, but like that's the next step, because I just, there's something about just being an actor for hire for the rest of my life that I can't just get behind. I think the only way it makes sense to me is if I treat the acting thing as a bonus. Like whenever I book a role through auditioning, that's just like a bonus bucket in my life that I get to go on like a free vacation, But like depending on it as if it's going to be my career is really scary and stressful. And I enjoy what I do when I'm on set. Like I don't complain about it. Like I don't feel the pressure of that, like, because I genuinely am happy doing it. But I think ultimately for me, like getting the next series lead in something else is something that like I just treat like a bonus, and everything else I want under my control. And if I get it, great. I get to go on a vacation to shoot the thing and then come back to my regular life.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you. Like I don't know what your philosophy is like, but like that's how it helps me a little bit, because
no, I echo that too. It's like I dread just being an actor for hire. And I wholeheartedly cling on to the reality of us just being contract players. Where as soon as what you're working on is done, who knows what's going to happen. So it's all about being able to utilize that downtime to create something new, hopefully create something that sticks, and to be able to show my art in another light versus just being a vessel for somebody else's art, which is great and I love doing it, but I feel like I got more to give this industry in regards to entertainment value.
No, and I mean, you've worked with people like that. Like you've worked with Joe Coy, you've worked with, like he's a good example of that. Yeah, sure, he's not like a classically trained actor by any means, but like people in that cast, like I was actually looking up all of them a few months ago, and like Eva Noblezada, like she's a Broadway star, but not only that, like she's doing a bunch of other features. Joe, of course, a stand-up comedian, author, now actor as well. Asif Ali as well, like him too. Like he like literally like he has podcasts. He has essentially all these people have their own creations and IPs that they have in addition to being actors. And I think that's just the reality of what this industry is going towards now. Like you have to be a multi-hyphenate sort of business person, I guess. I don't know. Like you have to have a bunch of.
It's like, and I think we've also had this conversation, but I know I've had this conversation many times with other artists in the industry where it's like it's always been a triple threat industry where you couldn't just do one thing. If you did, you burned out. And so it's like back in the day, it was your actors were also singers and dancers. And then in today's world, it's your actor, director, producer, or actor, writer, director. But there's always been like that triple threat that helped keep an artist within the industry. And not to say like if you just want to do acting, great, but then the actors that branch off outside of acting and doing other endeavors, whether it be philanthropic or, to start their own business, that's what sustains them. But then it's like, that's their other avenues. But just to be an actor for hire, I think is a very dangerous route.
Oh yeah. And it's funny because that's what you initially can only think of, right? When you're starting off, it's just like, I just want to book that role and I want to do this and I want to do, like I want to impress this casting director. But that journey will never stop. Like, that'll keep going. Like, you're not gonna know every casting director in town. You're not gonna know every producer in town where that process just stops being a thing. Like, that'll be a lifelong journey. And so you might as well treat it like it's just like it's its own thing. And every now and then again you get called to it. It's like, okay, cool, I get to go do this thing and come back. But it's my last week of shooting, so that's what this week. That's what I'm focusing on. I'm just focusing on having a good time every day on set, just like really cherishing the last week, because you never know when it's gonna come again. So I'm gonna make sure that's my mental mantra for this week is just enjoy.
No,
enjoy
it's
it.
fair, and it kind of sounds like I can lead into this question in a different light, where the question that I hated a few years ago, I don't hate it as much today because I know how to answer it now as me.
Yeah.
But like back in the day, I used to hate when I'm on a project and I'm doing press for it, and then they're like, "So, what's next?" So with that, I'll mention like why I say that now, but then let me bounce that to you right now. So what's next for Praneet?
What's next is we kind of touched on this. I'm constantly developing, whether it's a short film, whether it's a TV series that I want to put into development. I'm constantly sort of writing and developing always. Don't have anything concrete to announce yet regarding that, so that's what I'm going to keep kind of doing. I am going back for season 3 of Motherland, shooting the last few episodes of the season. This is going to be the final season of the show. And so it's going to be the final goodbye to it, I guess, as well. So that I'll shoot in sometime in March. And then, auditioning for the next thing. It's a different experience being optioned because you don't have as many as flexible you can to do everything. And so for the first time in my life, it's going to be interesting to not have as many auditions because it's just going to be like, okay, great. And then it's going to be about me trying to control my FOMO as a result. Because I'm greedy and I want everything. Course, and I think apart from that, nothing much. I mean, there's some couple of theater stuff that I'm still thinking about doing, but it entirely depends on if we get a season 2. Because if we get a season 2, then I can't do the theater thing.
I also gotta say that I love that about you is your love for theater and your eagerness to go back to it, and it's like you're just ready to say yes to theater over other opportunities. And I think that's like, it's exciting.
I mean, my agents kill me, will destroy me, will hate me for it. But yeah, like next year I'm going on, like, there's a potential world tour from January till July, and I want to do it, but of course, everybody else in my life.
Do you know what you'd be performing?
Yeah, so it's for, I think we talked about this. It was it's for a show called Mahabharata. Mahabharata is one of Hindu mythology's greatest epics. It's like our Lord of the Rings. Hindu scholars would hate that I just simplified it that way. I literally just called it Lord of the Rings. The god is literally like dying right now. He's. But
like, with respect to that, like, I gotta say, like, Hinduism is the most exciting out of all the religions. If you want action, if you want drama, you go to that. Like, the Passion of the Christ, okay, Mel Gibson, that was great and all. The Old Testament, like,
boring.
The Bhagavad Gita, like, it's on that. It's like there's so much
what's epic about the Bhagavad Gita? What's epic about Bhagavad Gita is the holy book of Hinduism is a chapter in Mahabharata. It's a chapter of Mahabharata. The holy book of Hinduism is a chapter in that story. That's how epic the story is. It's like a multi-generational family.
That's like you think Greek gods, they have the rap of them doing what they do.
Yeah.
But then it's like you have like I didn't know like I want to say it's
Vishnu,
Vishnu,
yeah.
who's the one with all the arms,
Yeah, oh yeah. So they all have multiple arms, but yeah, Vishnu's the main dude. Um,
but he's like he's vicious,
oh yeah,
man. Like he's what I think of when the Catholics say to fear a
oh yeah.
god, where it's like I don't fear this one god. No, I fear the Indian god. Like, did you
Have they
see?
seen the Indian god of death, the Hindu god of death? Because that like so. There's like Brahma, who's the creator, Vishnu is the preserver, and then Shiva is the lord of death, and
Mhm.
it's the triumvirate, the three. And and I get to play in the show. I get to play reincarnation of Vishnu, is who I'm
That's so
playing.
cool.
So it'd be like for Lord of the Rings, Vishnu now would be like Gandalf the White, that kind of person. Uh, but yeah, like he comes in and rescues. Like he comes in last minute and does shit, does cool shit.
You're
But
set on this on this analogy of this is Lord of the
it's
Rings
the
for
only
you.
way I can explain this to the people. No,
Is
it's
it
a
to the
5 hour
point where
show.
you also see Peter Jackson directing it?
I mean, if Peter Jackson was directing it, I'm literally saying no to film and television for the rest of my life and only doing this in every single world tour possible. Um, I mean, it's a 5 hour show. It's a 5 hour show,
That's
and so we're going to
incredible.
be doing it in parts: part one, part two. Um, world tour. Let's start off in Canada, then go to London. Um, but again, it's whether I can do it or not is up for debate. We'll see. I think
Hmm.
it's something that I'm thinking about, but at the same time, it also has to work out with the schedule and everything. And yeah.
Well, in fairness, throw it my way because I think I can still play a pretty convincing Indian. So, you know,
Well, I mean, I will. I will if they ever need.
just
Um,
just drop it in. Just suggest it. You know, it works.
yes, yeah. I'll say you.
I'll,
I'll say
I'll
he
just
almost played an Indian into all
Sharpie.
the. I'll say he almost played the Indian. Done.
I'm
Done.
happy with that. I'm happy with that.
Yeah. Though I will say though, like if you were like people could easily make you out to be like Nepali.
Oh yeah.
You look like
But then it's
you like
like
you
now
could easily
now
pass
that's
off
a
as Nepali.
whole conversation in regards to
I
diversity
know.
that
Yeah.
but I would
No.
still have loved to get an audition for Aladdin. So that's also where I sit
Yeah.
in this industry.
Well, I mean, they always do auditions for the Broadway. You should audition. Always.
Always, always. Just at least submit. I should at least submit. I should
You should
just stop
submit.
thinking that they're
You know, it's so funny. I never had an agent or anything like that when the movie was auditioning for the leads, like Aladdin the movie, and
Hmm.
it's one of my regrets. It's one of my regrets. But hindsight, I
Hmm.
didn't even know that I wanted to be an actor until
Yeah.
you know. I submitted. I submitted to the open call, but I'm thinking now. I'm like, if I like had like what I have now on my resume, and like I submitted by my agents, and then I auditioned, I would have had a way better
So
shot.
what I'm hearing is that Nexus event that happened to you that made you want to be an actor was you saw Aladdin and you said that should have been me. That was
Basically,
this is your
I had
gotcha. Yep.
FOMO. I
No, I
looked
get
at
it.
Mina Masood and I said, Mina, I love you, but come on, man. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, he was.
Your objective is to get him recast in the third one.
My objective is to go back in time, recast myself as Aladdin, and then change the whole narrative.
Nice.
Um,
So that's where the
I will say
engineering comes
though,
in.
the engineering comes in on building the time machine part, of course. Yeah,
Yep.
duh. Uh, I will say though, Dutta, Tila is a casting director in Vancouver, ex casting director in Vancouver. She used to work for Sean and JJ's office. She was my high school friend, and
Hmm.
I consider her like my fairy godmother of Vancouver actually because she's the reason I moved there. Because I was doing theater, as you said, and she was the one that actually forwarded me the audition for Aladdin. She was the one that forwarded me like auditions for Riverdale, being like, "Hey, maybe you should try her out for this part or whatever. I think might be good." And me being
Wow.
like, "Sure, I'll tape for it," but like no idea of the convention of like what self taping was, nothing. Like
Hmm.
I would like my first few self tapes was just me looking at the lens, like because I didn't know that you had to like look off camera. You know, and so she was the one that actually said like, "Hey, I know you're acting in theater and stuff like that, but like, I think if you gave film and TV a shot here, I think you would do pretty well. And I was just like, yeah, okay.
This just makes me so curious to. I hope you have tapes or whatever
I do.
film
I
of your
do.
high school performances. Yeah, I think that's
I'll,
what
I'll
needs to make it onto the internet.
Well, I also have my really bad original first self tapes that I did too, where I'm looking right into the camera. So I have those as well. They're all.
I watch those to humble myself. That's what I
Oh my
keep those
god, dude!
for.
I literally watched one 2 days ago, and I was just like cringing the entire time. I was just like, thank God you learn as you go, because God, I mean, that was those. And it's so funny to look back on because I
Oh
was like
man.
looking at it and being like, I was so broken up about not getting that part, and now I'm looking at it, I'm like, well, yeah, that makes sense why I didn't get it. Like, I was just like,
I
how
think I
dare
have
they?
one of those auditions. I have one of those auditions for The 100 season 1,
Yeah.
and I remember I did so much for this audition. Like I smoked a cigarette. I had a cleaver as a prop because I thought it would be interesting that my guy would be called away from butchering, and I was like, I should have gotten this. Oh, what a guy!
Yeah. It's okay. Thank God. You know, we grew out of those phases, and we're still growing.
I hope
Yeah.
so. I hope so.
Yeah, we'll look back a few years working on this year, and we'll be like, what are you thinking? Jeez.
Oh my goodness. Oh, but Praneet, time is getting away from us, so I unfortunately
Yes.
have to end this here. But we gotta bring you back for another episode if you
All
are
right.
free and are so
Fine.
gracious enough.
Fine. Okay.
Oh
Yeah. No,
man.
this is wonderful. Thank you so much. This is so good catching up. And,
Ah,
you're an inspiration to me as well. I get inspired watching your work. I think you're an incredible actor, and so
wow.
yeah, I do sincerely mean that. Like, I think part of the reason why I was able to connect with you in Vancouver too is because I respected your craft, and like I respected the
God
dedication that you got
damn.
to your craft, and I want to surround myself with people like that, you know. So yeah, thank you.
I think this is the part where I e-transfer you $50 was it for that?
Yeah. I mean, we can discuss off air. That's fine. I mean, I only found out I had back end now, so we'll figure it out. Yeah, I'll talk to my lawyers.
Awesome. Oh man, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks, bro.
But everybody, thanks for tuning in. 2 Degrees Podcast brought to you by the Play On Foundation. Praneet Akilla, check him out and everything that he's doing. And if you can get a chance, Mom versus Machine, as well as SkyMed Paramount Plus, that's going to come out and that's exciting. So other than that, y'all have a great day.
Bye bye.